Hello, welcome to the Augmentation of Man with Kent and Renee Miller, where we are bringing the future. And today we're going to be talking about the coming changes, part 6, out of the 12th chapter of the Augmentation of Man, a Study in Renaissance. And this has to do with a number of changes that are coming here to Earth, bringing change to our own physical expression, how our DNA is going to be impacted, and how life on Earth is going to be impacted and change, but also what is going to change in the universe and within our galaxy, so that it can explain that term that there will be a new heaven and a new earth. So hopefully we'll be able to explain that for you. And we're going to try and make it as simple as we can. It is a complicated chapter, so that's why we're doing this video series, to be able to perhaps bring more clarity to it.
And that's difficult to do. So we'll begin by explaining what a quail is.
This is a word that we were given by the ancients through meditation. These are lessons that Kent had received while he's meditating. He hears it in his mind, repeats it, and then I write it down. And then we try and figure it out, because they introduce a lot of new words that are complicated, but most of them, some of them are universal words. Which we would not be able to trace, and we have to ask for a definition, while others are based on our own Greek and Latin root word system that they construct new words out of to help explain certain concepts, and it's a part of the conceptual learning.
So let's begin by explaining what a quail is. Okay, a quail is the light that travels through the atmosphere on a plasmic cord, okay, from a place where, and this is what divination occurs. You want to explain what divination means? Because
it's the divine ordering of things. So it starts with the creator.
The center of all things.
So the creator releases what the plan is, the instructions for the changes.
For the changes that are supposed to happen.
And then there's other beings that co-create with creator,
including
carrying those instructions out.
Right, including the making of new bodies in the universe, not this body type of body, but planets, stars, etc. Creating the universe itself. And we've talked about this, whether it's like black holes suck in material, white holes blow out material, which they have found recently. And so is that part of the equation, or is that just a piece of the equation? That's not the whole thing. I mean, this is very complicated.
And at its simplest terms, we've been told that everything is recycled and everything is renewed, and everything is brought forward to higher and higher states of expression. And that gets right back down to the mathematics of the simplest of things, like the mathematics of an energy field, or the mathematics of mass, and all the atoms that make up that mass.
It's a conscious energy. Mathematics is the language of all the universes.
It's really the language of God. And so it's a vibration. The word of God comes out as a vibrational code that has mathematical equivalent, and that is what travels these plasma cords that make up source and the neural net.
We're going to concentrate on humanity now. Mm-hmm. There are other entities out there, we know this. And how it affects them, we don't know. But we do know how it's going to affect the human race.
So you're talking about this energy that's being released. And this is coming from this creational field where divine ordering happens, where this divination, the plans for all the changes are coming from. You're talking about this field,
Well,
right?
it's a temporary effect on humanity, and it will cause a character change in many humans. And most do not understand this at all. They just go with whatever they feel or they think they feel.
They're reacting to emotions.
It's going to cause an obnoxious behavior. It has caused an obnoxious behavior within the human race. Now, what do we do about it?
But there's others who are looking at it and calling them out. So you can see this playing out today, where you have a part of society that's very reactionary, and they're reacting on an emotional level. But if they don't have all the facts to back up the reason for their behavior, then you will see other people who are under the influence of this energy coming in, calling them out and holding them accountable to the truth. But in the process, ostracizing them, and there will be a significant character assassination in the process. And it's temporary, but it's very damaging to their character.
Whenever a human being is called out because they don't know what they're doing, they don't have a good reason for what they're doing. They're just doing it. It's going to be an affront to their ego, and they're going to act out more.
Absolutely.
So it eventually causes a correction and a rebalance in their behavior eventually. So what does this shift with this behavioral movement? What does this shift cause? What does it include?
Okay, so this is an energy that's coming in here, and it's causing a lot of different things to shift. And it has an impact on our behavior, as we just mentioned, but it has an impact on a lot of other different things. So this whole thing that our guides have talked about is called the shift. And so it's a
mathematical equation that's coming in, and it's going to create new. Now we can talk about our solar system basically, but it's going to affect the balancing of the galaxies, the solar systems, all the spheres within our galactic system. So it's going to, we can only go that far to talk about how it's going to affect this system.
So there is talk in this chapter about there's plans for new spheres that are going to be developed. In fact, there's an Oort cloud that's bigger than Jupiter, and I believe it's in our solar system, if I remember correctly. And it's this huge
galactic system.
It's this huge cloud that has formed that's gotten the astronomers' attention. But we're being told that that's going to be the formation of new spheres within this area. And so when you have that, you have a new distribution of weight that occurs. So you have this coagulation of all this new matter, and you've got to rearrange other matter to balance it so that you don't have collision of spheres happening within the galaxy. And so when this occurs, they're planning the development of new spheres. They have to shift other planets in their orbit in order to accommodate these new areas of mass that are being developed.
Change the gravity of these different planets.
And so there's a gravitational change that will occur along with that. And also there's, as we mentioned earlier, everything is upgraded. So even at the most basic level of all atomic expression, the expression of atoms that make up matter, there is going to be a mathematical change within those atoms and a vibrational change.
Now, you're talking about the change in the neural net.
It affects the neural net
the
also.
neural net is the main.
But it affects all matter.
Yeah, but changing the neural net will increase the communication. When you talked about communication,
Right.
And
as we did in our last video.
Various species, that species outside of Earth and species within Earth, they're going to be a higher order.
Yeah, so everything's being brought up to a higher level of expression. The neural net is actually going to become much more integrative and expansive and connecting all entities, or a greater number of entities. So, and we're talking about extraterrestrial entities, so that it expands the communication system.
So when we will discover the new communication, and when it's needed, at the time it's needed.
Right. And so all these changes are taking place as we speak, and they're going unnoticed. And when everything is lined up, all of a sudden our reality shifts, and it'll look like it shifts overnight, when in reality this has been occurring for a long period of time, and it is with the orchestration of all these entities, spiritual, non-physical, and physical beings that are working to shift energies, and to shift vibration, and to shift the mathematical balance. There's even entities that are called ciphers of the Creator, who mathematically calculate out all these changes that are needed.
This has to happen to bring us in line with the rest of the universe, not alone our own galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And as this happens, we will rebalance. So all things will change. All
things will change. So matter will change, and that includes our physical bodies, as well as the atmosphere is going to change to some degree. We don't know exactly what. We do know a lot of this change is occurring within the nucleus of atoms, so it may not be that noticeable on a visual level. However, we're being told that we can gauge these changes by observing the changes within our own bodies. So as our bodies begin to behave differently and we have different experiences, that's reflective of what is going on within our solar system, within the galaxy, and within the universe. The changes that are occurring there are being brought here, and eventually we will notice a difference in the way that we are behaving.
Okay. And it says in the Bible, a new heaven, a new earth, in Revelation. This is a mathematical redistribution of everything within our solar system. And we don't know how far out in the universe this rebalancing goes, but we know that our galactic system will be rebalanced. I imagine others will be rebalanced too. This is a combined effect to rebalance everything that is within the universe, so it doesn't collide with one another, so it's more balance.
It's a redistribution of weights within the space.
Universal system. We know this throughout our solar system, redistribution of weight in our galactic system. So we will look up as a human race, and we will see a new heaven. And a new earth will be the land masses that will shift and create other land masses.
But also our experience as a human is going to shift. So that's going to seem like it's a whole new earth as well. And things will behave slightly differently because of the changes at the subatomic level within the mass that is here on Earth, within our atmosphere and within our bodies.
Well, the universal laws and concepts will not change. The rebalancing is to bring it back in to meet these laws and concepts, which we haven't learned yet as a human race.
We have not yet been introduced to it.
We're too young, and we have been told a few of these universal laws. but the human race itself has not learned.
There's millions and millions of universal laws and concepts that explain the laws, but that is something that we're going to be learning about in this next cycle that we are entering.
So a cause of differentiating factors between beings, that's what's going to be difficult to explain to you to understand this. It's not based on what you look like. It's not based on skin color. It's not based on race, because there are more races out in the universe than here on Earth.
But if you think we've got differences within the human race, just wait till we see what's out there.
It's much different. And you see, you can't get along with those here, which basically look like you, maybe a different color of skin, but basically look like the human race. Wait till you see those outside of Earth. How are you going to accept them if you can't accept your own brothers here on Earth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so these changes in the way that we differentiate each other is going to be reflective of where we are at in our learning process. So humans are finishing up this grand cycle of perceptual learning as perceptual beings, and that's reflective of only what we've been exposed to. And so we tend to react based on just our past experiences. We're moving into a cycle of conceptual learning, and we are becoming conceptual beings. And part of our whole genetic change is to enable our body, and particularly our nervous system and our brains, to be able to process a higher level of information at a higher speed, and to be able to integrate all that information to see a much bigger picture as a conceptual being. So there's other types of beings out there. They don't focus on the race. They don't focus on the color of their skin or what they look like. That most universal beings will talk about them as far as they're contractual beings.
The character of how they respond to different events. Their character is much more important than what they look like.
But also where they are as far as their level of knowledge.
Learning, yeah.
Their level of understanding is what characterizes and differentiates their beings. So say a contractual being is contractual to the natural laws, and they understand all the laws, universal laws, most of them, that go into what created a particular event. So we're moving into a period of conceptual learning, and we will be conceptual beings, and that includes learning about the universe, starting to begin to learn about universal laws and concepts, and learning about the natural world. So then we will be moving away from all this unnatural stuff, you know, the chemicals and the plastics and all that man-made created stuff.
We're still evaluating ourselves, our own bodies, and we'll be able to evaluate it as to our own movement relative to movement in the field out within our galactic system. We'll eventually get to that point. Our own movements are relative to the energies coming in. It affects our movements on how we're going to react to certain events.
Oh, so you're talking about as our physical bodies change and we move through our genetic upgrade, then we can see or feel the changes within, and that is relative to this energy moving its way throughout the universe, throughout our galaxy, to our solar system, and then to Earth, bringing these massive changes that maybe not so visual, but they are at a subatomic level massive.
I get these meditations that are deep in concept, and I try to explain them and then Renee explains them over what I try to explain, because as I try to explain, I don't explain it as simplistic as what she does to be able to get you to understand what we're talking about.
And that's why, you know, I mentioned in a previous video, I like to know all the nuts and bolts of something. By trade, I'm a nurse, and and so my way of thinking is I need to know at the most the basic level and all the way up through the most complicated level to really get it, as one friend of ours, to really grok it, she would say. And so that goes back to a movie. Anyway, once you understand the word grok, you get it.
So anyhow.
And so that's not always possible for me because I lack the understanding of physics and astrophysics, but we're trying. We're trying to do our own homework and trying to piece it together for people. So we're going to try and digest it and explain it in simpler terms as far as we are able to at this time.
So as we know, the neural net, which is a main communicative stream, is going
and it's used telepathically.
This is going to be expanded, and it's going to enable us to communicate with more conceptual ideas as we begin to learn.
And that's between other entities.
As we become a new species, which is will be in time. It's not next year or next week.
So what this means is that we are going to be able to sit in quiet contemplation, perhaps meditation, and to be able to tap into this neural net, this communicative network. And so one part of it is a one-way communication where you can like Google something and you get a quick explanation of that thing. The other is a two-way parallel communication network that runs parallel to the neural net for two-way communication between other entities. And so as we move into this new cycle of conceptual being and we have our genetic upgrade, we will be able to, more people will be able to communicate telepathically with other beings who are going to be teachers of these new conceptual ideas.
This is down the road in the future, much in the future. So we know that life patterns will change in many ways that could be within our lifetime period, including the length of life.
Mm-hmm. And this all is, it starts in our atmosphere. We have changes to the magnetic field that have an impact on the life force field that is coming in from the creator and from light beings who generate life force field. And it's in a stream that is angled at livable spheres. And it brings this life force that enables us to occupy these physical bodies. And so this magnetic field change is going to have an impact on that life force field stream that is going to also impact our genetics and the way that we are behaving here as far as our progressing evolution in our intellectual and spiritual evolvement.
So we know this is necessary to bring humanity into the fold. Now, our own life force will change. That Earth can no longer be secluded from not only our solar system, but from our galactic system or from the universe. We have to change. And with that, the design of the human DNA will be placed forward, brought forward for completion.
Yeah, and this was actually in the plans before humanity was even, thought of and brought here, but it just hasn't materialized yet.
Yeah, so we have a lot to do before all this happens. We have a lot of learning to conceive before this happened.
Mhm.
This is a time to return our sights to the Creator, and our spiritual development will depend on this.
Yeah, and we really have to come to understand why this shift is necessary, because if you look around our world today, if these changes were not brought to us from all these other physical and non-physical entities, we would simply implode. All of, and this is part of a universal law, all of creation has to evolve. It is built into the plan by God, the Creator, that everything must evolve to higher and higher states of expression and intellectual and spiritual evolvement. And so in order to do that, say for beings such as ourselves and other beings in the universe to be moved to higher states of intellectual and spiritual evolvement, the bodies also have to be upgraded. And in order to do that, then mass itself and the atoms that make up mass have to be upgraded in order for our physical bodies to change, to be able to step into a new and higher way of expression.
This is why we must understand why this shift is necessary. For the survival of the human race, we must stop what we're doing. Stop it today and relook at where we are and what we're doing. Reinvent what we're doing if we have to. Okay, but we must stop doing what we're doing and we start communicating with each other and bringing a new life to this planet. Otherwise, the extermination, whether you're young or old, makes no difference what your age is or what you look like, will be exterminated.
And basically, it was explained to us in those terms is that because it's a universal law, because this is mandated by the Creator, we must evolve to higher states of doing business, or we self-implode, we self-destruct. So that is the only option. And so if you're watching this video, you know that we are moving into a higher evolvement, a higher state of being, and there just has to be massive changes to get us there. So we have to, I think, as a race, understand that these changes are necessary. It's stressful. Yes, it's stressful. But keep your eye on the end goal. There is a lot coming here that is positive. This is a positive change. It's not a negative change, but it is stressful in all the changes that are happening. So we urge you just to keep your eye on that beautiful end goal of all these wonderful changes that are coming to humanity.
Question is, ask yourself, are you ready for this change of humanity? Are you ready?
It's truly exciting. Where we're going is a really exciting place. And so keep the positive attitude. We are moving through a lot of things that's, and a lot of energies are affecting humanity and causing people to act out in very obnoxious ways. They're under the influence of these energies, and we just need to hold the truth and to be the truth seeker. So we hope that this has helped explain some of the things going on in our world today. And we hope that you have a wonderful day. Do subscribe. And if you like to receive these in your email box, get on our website at verdience.com. That's with a V. And it's at the end of this video if you want to see the spelling. At the bottom of the page, then you can subscribe to our newsletter, but it's morphed into videos and podcasts. So we'll send it to you in your email if you prefer to receive it that way.
And look at us on BitChute and Parler,
Mhm.
and also Anchor.fm for podcast.
At the Augmentation of Man with Kent and Renee Miller. So have a wonderful day, and peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment. Take care.